Well, lads, what's the crack? And welcome back to yet another Premier League prediction. Today we predict the matches for Matchweek 6. Looking back at how we did last weekend, and I mean, we can quickly move on from this. There's the score I got down below there. I did correctly predict one game, and Burnley won, Forest won. But yeah, the less we talked about last week, the better. However, definitely this week should be a bigger improvement. Past week or two in the Premier League, definitely have had a couple of big fixtures. This week, match week it's a wee bit quieter. However, still a couple of interesting games. So as always, remember to subscribe to the channel if you are new to the channel, if you enjoy all my content, and if you haven't yet done so. Like the videos, it really does go a long way to give me as much support as possible. Click the bell so you never miss out on one of my latest uploads. Also, remember to share this video to as many people as possible to really help push the algorithm. And so then let's get into this video, my Premier League predictions for match week 6. And so starting off then with the early kickoff on Saturday, it takes us to the GTAC Community Stadium as Brentford are going to be hosting Man United here in this one. Now, Man United last week, we won a game. Thankfully, we defeated the world champions Chelsea 2-1 on home turf, obviously. And a game which definitely was very hectic, at least in the first half anyway. And look, to defeat a Big Six side finally again, and to do it against Chelsea as well, of all teams, is very, very sweet. It's always going to be very sweet too. So to win that game, obviously, we did deserve the win there in that one too. So overall, I'm very happy, and that should surely set us on a good route to a couple of wins in a row. I know we've got Liverpool coming up in the next few games, so still, next two games at least, we have to be winning, of course, and this game obviously does fall into this category. And so, ultimately, after that game against Chelsea, after that fantastic victory, many United fans will be expecting us to win this one. Same with me. However, many United fans will just be saying we've won this game already because, Brentford, they might say, haven't been great this year. And yes, they haven't been great this year, and last week it was a 3-1 defeat away against their big rivals Fulham. So I mean, Man United fans think all of a sudden we defeat Chelsea and we're back. However, I'm here to tell you now this game is far from over, because Brentford have proven to be one of our many bogey teams over the past number of seasons, and as well as that then, in my opinion, were we very good against Chelsea? No, in fact I thought we were pretty poor at times, especially when it went back to 10v10 after Casemiro's red card. So I do believe still there's plenty of work. However, even with that, I do still expect us to win this one here. However, in true typical United fashion, can I see us winning away from home against Brentford? Unfortunately, lads, I cannot. So you know what, lads? Even though we did fantastic to defeat Chelsea 2-1 there last week, I'm actually going to go down the middle here in this one. I'm not confident we're going to win this one here, and I think we're going to settle for a 1-1 draw from the final whistle here at the GTAC. I'm going to say it's going to be goalless at half time, but finally, early on in the second half, I'm going to say we will get a breakthrough, and Amad Diallo will be the man to get his first goal of the season and make it 1-0 United then. However, I'm going to say we're going to battle it later on, and in the last 3 minutes of the match, that a bullet header by Christopher Ayer off the bench is going to seal a point here for Brentford in this one. It's going to be a permanent performance overall once again here at United, as once again we proved to be inconsistent continuously. And I'm going to say here, against one of our bogey teams, Brentford, we failed to get a victory, and I'm going to have to settle for a very frustrating 1-1 draw to kickstart the weekend. Next game then, we go to Stamford Bridge as Chelsea are hosting the Seagulls Brighton here in this one. Now, once again, another massive game here. Of course, Chelsea over midweek, of course, in the Carabao Cup, following on from their defeat away against Man United, which mainly was due to Robert Sanchez's stupid early red card. They only just narrowly got into the next round of the Carabao Cup with a 2-1 victory away from home against League One Lincoln City. They went 1-0 down there in the first half thanks to poor defensive mistakes from likes of Trevor Chalobah. I forget who it was who passed it across the pitch, the Chalobah, but he was at fault too. And again, Jorgensen and that just wasn't that good either. However, they did come back and of course Tyreek George with a banger, but one of the Ortez goal was very good too. And so overall, this Chelsea side still has lots to come from them. However, Garnacho so far not looking too good. Happy days, of course. However, for Brighton, on the other hand, in the Carabao Cup, 6-0 win away against Barnsley. Back-to-back 6-0 away wins in the Carabao Cup. And Diego Gomez from Inter Miami, of all players, 4 goals in the night. And the 4 goals are absolute bangers as well. Where has that come from? Honestly, lads, Brighton at the moment are playing fantastic football, and they probably arguably should have got all 3 points over the weekend there at home to Spurs. However, had to settle for an entertaining 2-2 draw there at the Amex Stadium. Still, not a bad result whatsoever here. However, this game definitely will be pretty tricky. However, past 3 games against Bayern Munich, Man United and Lincoln City now, of course. Three very strange teams there to put it into the same category of Chelsea's last 3 games. So anyway, over those past 3 games anyway, in my opinion, have Chelsea looked good in any of them? No. And although Sanchez isn't a good goalkeeper in my opinion, Jorgensen is an even worse goalkeeper, and so I do believe Chelsea will actually struggle quite a lot here defensively. I'm going to say they will start the game off well, and will be 1-0 up going into half-time thanks to a goal by Pedro Neto right on the stroke of the break. However, I'm going to say the second half, the cracks will shine through, and I'm going to say Brighton will fight back and will actually win this one here. Smash and grab 2-1 victory here as I'm back in Brighton to defeat Chelsea and continue the Blues' terrible form. I'm going to say with 20 minutes to go, action stations will finally begin for the Seagulls, and alarm bells will start to ring for Chelsea after the equaliser will be scored by a bullet header through Lewis Dunk. And then deep in the injury time, I'm going to say that Danny Welbeck, the former gunner and Man United striker, is going to win Brighton the game here in this one at Stamford Bridge. It's going to be a fantastic 3 points as Fabian Hurtzler's side continue their fantastic form. However, Enzo Maresca's Chelsea side currently in poor form. Sanchez suspended. Jorgensen isn't a great goalkeeper, as well as that then Cole Palmer could be a doubt here in this one. Honestly, lads, in my opinion, Chelsea, the cracks are shining through at the minute. They're not in good form, and with Brighton in good form, I do believe the Seagulls will snatch a big 3 points here away from home. Last game then, we go to Sellers Park as the two sides in the Premier League who are in the best form at the minute are taking on each other for the second time already this season. It is the return of the meeting between Crystal Palace and Liverpool here in this one. It should once again be a very interesting game. Of course, Crystal Palace last time out in the Premier League would defeat their London rivals West Ham 2-1 away from home. Their Tarek Mitchell scoring the winner there in that one as Palace continue their fantastic unbeaten record from the end of last year to the start of this year, of course. So yeah, I mean, Oliver Glasner really has this side so well drilled, and here in this one, I tell you what, they will not be fearing Liverpool whatsoever, because Liverpool still have plenty of cracks shining through as well. They defeated their Merseyside derby rivals Everton 2-1 there at Anfield. However, definitely could have been a bit shaky there near the end. And then of course in the Carabao Cup, they got lucky enough in the end there. 2-1 victory at home to Southampton. Hugo Ekitike with the winner, however, taking his top off to celebrate against Southampton in the Carabao Cup at home, just to get a second yellow and get sent off. That's absolutely comical. However, his loss here in this one will be massive. Alexander Isak will have plenty of pressure on his shoulders. However, he scored against Southampton midweek, so he definitely could be a bit more confident here in this one. But honestly, lads, in my opinion, are Liverpool playing good football? No. Are Palace playing good football? Yes. So, I mean, Liverpool, if they can't have a last-minute winner to save them here in this one, then I tell you what, I do believe this one could be a long afternoon and a long day in the office for Arne Slot's side. And to be honest, lads, can I say a shock here in this one? You know what, lads? I'm going to say there is. I'm going to go for a big shock here, lads. Liverpool will lose their first game of the season, and Palace are going to defeat Liverpool 2-0 on home turf here at Sellers Park on Saturday afternoon. I'm going to say at half-time it's going to be 1-0 Palace. It'll be a decent enough first half from both sides, but Daniel Munoz will put in a goal right before half-time, and the Colombian will make it 1-0 then going into the break. And in the second half then, I'm going to say Liverpool knocking on the door. The fantastic defensive work from Mark Guehi, Lacroix, Dean Henderson in goal will prevent them from scoring. And with 15-20 minutes to go, I'm going to say that the game will be won by the player Liverpool, 99% sound. However, it fell through last minute. Mark Guehi, he's going to score against the side he could have gone to, and he's going to seal Palace an historic and fantastic 3 points here, defeating the current league holders Liverpool as they lose their first game of the season, and Crystal Palace will become the only side left in the Premier League still unbeaten. Next game then we go to Allen Road as Leeds United are hosting Bournemouth here in this one now. Leeds last week got a massive 3-1 victory away against struggling Wolves, of course, and the goals that were scored in that game were fantastic, from Anton Stack's thunderous free kick, the Noah Okafor's finish, and Calvert-Lewin even getting his first goal for Leeds as well. So I tell you what, that was definitely a perfect showing there from the away side last time out, so that definitely should give this Leeds side plenty of confidence coming into this one. Bournemouth, on the other hand, drew 0-0 at home to Newcastle. A Newcastle side tired from a Thursday night Champions League defeat to Barcelona on home turf. So could Bournemouth got something from that one? Yes. However, they have had a decent start of the season, and a point isn't the worst thing against a side like Newcastle. So, but however, here in this one still, they will definitely be hopeful and definitely will be looking for 3 points away against Leeds. They'll see themselves as a better side compared to Leeds, and they definitely should see this as a must-win game. However, in current recent record, Bournemouth's record away at Elland Road in particular has actually been pretty poor, and so with that record in mind, can I see Bournemouth playing good here in this one and finding this one easy. No, I'm going to say Leeds will really make this one a struggling game for Bournemouth, in my opinion. And I do believe Leeds definitely do have a big say here in this one. However, I can't see Leeds winning this one because Bournemouth still are a good side themselves. So you know what, lads? I'm going to go down a bit here in this one for a 1-1 draw at Allen Road. I'm going to say at half-time it's going to be 1-0 to the West side, and David Brooks on the stroke of half-time is going to give the Cherries the 1-0 lead. And it's going to look like Bournemouth will seal all 3 points straight to the entire second half. However, I'm going to say for the second time this season that Lucas and Matcha, I think it's Lucas and Matcha anyway, it could be Felix, I'm not too sure, but a Matcha, he scored a late winner against Everton at the start of the season. He's going to get a second late goal at Allen Road this year, this time for an equaliser, as you'll see if Leeds a vital point and a 1-1 draw at home to Bournemouth. Next time we go to the Etihad Stadium as Manchester City are going to be hosting Burnley here in this one. Burnley last time out a 1-1 draw at home to Nottingham Forest there. Not a bad result whatsoever as they continue their decent form so far this year. Meanwhile for Man City, they nearly got away from the Emirates Stadium with 3 points and a massive 1-0 victory. However, Gabriel Martinelli did what he always does and he scored a late goal against City at the Emirates and he sealed a 1-1 draw there. So City dropping points there last week. Not ideal, however, still they're in decent form and they defeated Huddersfield Town there over midweek in the Carabao Cup. Meanwhile for Burnley, however, they would lose 2-1 at home to Cardiff City from League One. So not ideal there for Scott Parker's side, and it's going to be interesting to see how they do get on here in this one. They've been very defensive, especially against the bigger sides this year, and so I do believe their defensive side, it's made teams like United and Liverpool struggle in bits so far this year. I do believe it definitely could make City struggle in bits this year too. However, I do believe at home turf at the Etihad Stadium and the firepower City do have, I do believe they should still get a couple of goals here in this one and get a relatively comfortable victory. So I'm going to say City will actually win this one here comfortably 3-0 in the final whistle against the Clarets here to get back to winning ways in the Premier League. I'm going to say on the stroke of half time they will get their breakthrough thanks to a goal by the man on form at the minute, Phil Foden, scoring his third goal in the past 5 games, or fourth goal in the past 5 games. I'm not too sure, but he's really finding form and he's going to score again here in this one, scoring the only goal of the first half and giving City the 1-0 lead going into half time. And in the second half then I'm going to say Erling Haaland will be the man to step up. He'll score the next 2 goals and seal a very comfortable 3-0 victory, 3 points on the board once again, and a perfect afternoon for Man City on home turf against the newly promoted Burnley. And now then we go to one of the main events on Saturday evening. It takes us to the City ground as Nottingham Forest are hosting Sunderland here in this one. This game actually should be a very interesting one and a very good watch as well, I do believe. Nottingham Forest there, of course, still winless after I think the first 5 games with Ange Postecoglou. Obviously, as I did mention, drew 1-1 away against Burnley there after taking a very early lead at Turf Moor last week, so not ideal there. And then, of course, they nearly got a massive 2-1 victory away against Real Betis to kickstart the Europa League campaign last night. However, Anthony of all players would seal Real Betis a point there, and so Forest drew once again. It finished 2-2 there to kickstart their Europa League campaign, so still winless under Ange Postecoglou, but in home turf here in this one. This actually might be Ange's first home game with Nottingham Forest, which is actually kind of mad because he's already coached like 4 or 5 games with them. So the fact this is his first home game, I'm pretty sure it is. That's absolutely crazy. So maybe with home turf, with a good atmosphere behind them, of course, maybe this can drive this Forest side on to great things. Sunderland, of course, we get a 1-1 draw at home to Villa there last week, which is a decent enough result there at the Stadium of Light, and I still do believe they're still a very good side. And with this Nottingham Forest side still and currently a bit off form, I do believe they definitely can get a result here in this one. However, I'm going to say at half-time Forest will be in a position where they're putting on a show. It's going to be 2-0 to the home side going into half-time. Goals coming from the midfielders. Morgan gives out very early on then, and on the half-hour mark I'm going to say Elliot Anderson will double the lead then, and so Forest will play some fantastic football under Ange Postecoglou with a 2-0 lead going into the break. However, I'm going to say then on the hour mark the Black Cats will get a goal back thanks to that man once again, Wilson Isidore. And oh no, it's not going to stop there. 10 minutes to go then. I'm going to say it's 2-2. Eliza Mayenda off the bench, a Spanish striker this time, is going to score and he's going to make it 2-2. Once again, it's going to look like Forest have bottled a win and will have to settle for a draw. However, it's not going to finish there because I'm going to say then at the death of injury time, a corner from Sunderland, it's very scrappy and a tap in, a scrappy goal. Ultimately, it's going to be a goal though by the right back, Tri Hume from Northern Ireland. He's going to win Sunderland the game here in this one, completing a fantastic comeback here. Force will remain winless under Ange Postecoglou, as Reggie Labre's side will come from 2-0 down at half time to win this one 3-2 right at the death, and what is going to be an amazing game of football at the City Ground. Just you watch, lads. I'm going to say that the entire Ange Postecoglou project at Force so far will be epitomised here in this one. A fantastic start, but once again, as always, are going to battle it big time. And now then we go to the final game on Saturday. It takes us to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, the fourth game on London on Saturday alone, I do believe, and it takes us to the Spurs against Wolves here. Now another interesting game, of course. Spurs over midweek against Doncaster Rovers, won that game 3-0 there comfortably in the Carabao Cup, whereas Wolves themselves actually won a game as well. They defeated Everton 2-0 to also book their place in the next round of the Cup as well. So 2 wins there over midweek, definitely big for Wolves, especially given their terrible form in the league here, and their form actually away at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium is surprisingly very good, and in fact they actually win at this ground more frequently than Tottenham do against Wolves. So that definitely is a very interesting stat to take into this one here. I was sort of feeling like this game though would have been a 3 or 4-0 win for Spurs here. I feel like that would have been the case at a 3 o'clock kickoff. However, it's 8 o'clock at night time, obviously loads of eyes will be on Tottenham, the pressure will be on them to put in a big performance and get another big 3 points, and I do believe with Wolves' good form at this ground especially, that this one definitely may be a big struggle for Spurs here. However, I do believe Thomas Frank's side will be good enough to defeat Vitor Pereira's side. It's going to be narrow, it's going to be tight, but it's going to be a big 1-0 victory for Spurs here. I'm going to see the goal come very early on, thanks to Mohamed Kudus scoring his first goal as a Spurs player, and that's going to do it here really, lads. It's once again not going to be a great game of football. Spurs won't play too much exciting football. Wolves will give them a few scores throughout the game, but ultimately will not be able to find the back of the net, and ultimately here I'm going to say Spurs, although it's not going to be convincing, it's going to be 3 points nonetheless. Another win for Thomas Frank's Tottenham side. Next then we go to Super Sunday, and starting off at Villa Park then in Birmingham, as Aston Villa are hosting the Cottagers Fulham here in this one. This is a big game for both sides. Fulham obviously at the minute are in fantastic form, but especially for Aston Villa, this is a game now where you have to win, of course. I know Fulham's been decent, however you're in home turf here, you're a better team on paper anyway. And I mean Fulham, of course, when was the last time Fulham won at Villa Park? I think it was actually last season, so I mean that's just proved myself stupid. But anyway, this has to be a win here for Villa, of course. You're getting closer and closer week after week. However, maybe something which goes against them is they're playing Thursday night football against Bologna in the Europa League. It'll be interesting to see how that will go, obviously. But here in this one, I do believe still they have to win it, even if it's just 1-0, even if it's the scrappiest win of all time, they have to do it. However, Fulham are not a side to take it lightly whatsoever. I do believe they're a well-drilled side. They're a very good side as well. And to be honest, lads, I can't see them losing here in this one. So you know what? I'm going to go down a little here in this one. Fulham's good defence and being well-drilled, combined with Villa's tiredness from the midweek game against Bologna, I'm going to say this one finishes a boring, goalless 0-0 draw. Once again, another game in the Premier League where Aston Villa will fail to score on home turf. Will be boos ringing around Villa Park come the final whistle, but it's going to be a hard-fought and well-earned point for the West Side Fulham here in this one. And now to the main event on this weekend. It takes us to St James's Park as Newcastle United are hosting the Gunners Arsenal here now. Once again, a massive game, obviously, as I did mention. Arsenal last week very lucky to even get a point at home to Man City there. Martinelli with a last-minute equaliser. But I tell you what, lads, one thing we learned from that game was Arsenal are not Premier League winners material. Why? You see the way they celebrated scraping a draw at home to a Man City side who, let's face it, Arsenal should be much better than at the minute, of course. That is why they're never going to defeat Liverpool and pip them to the title, obviously, because it simply do not have the mentality. And in my opinion too, Arteta's style of football just isn't good enough to guide this Arsenal side over the line either. But still, they're going okay. They've still got a very good squad. They defeated Port Vale 2-0 in the Carabao Cup, even though the football they played was the most diabolical stuff you'll ever watch in your life. Meanwhile, Newcastle actually decided to play a bit of exciting football in the Carabao Cup and defeated Bradford City 4-1 there on home turf over midweek, obviously. So, I mean, once again, like Newcastle, their home form against Arsenal as of recent over the past few years has actually been very good. And so maybe loads of people could be saying Newcastle will defeat Arsenal once again here in this one. But you know what, lads? I do believe Arsenal still are a very good squad. Got a very good squad there on paper. They can play good football, even though Arteta's football overall is very negative, and I do believe here in this one, even though the pressure will be on the Gunners, they will succeed and they'll get a massive 2-0 victory here away from home against the Newcastle side, who still isn't the finished product yet this season under Eddie Howe. I'm going to say it's going to be goalless at half time, but on with about 20 minutes to go then, I'm going to say Nottingham out of Wake of all players will open the scoring here and guiding Arsenal to what looks like it's going to be a massive victory here in this one. Before then, in injury time, I'm going to say the win will be sealed by a bullet header by Mikel Merino, making a 2-0 here. Giving the Gunners a massive 3 points away from home at one of their bogey grounds in St James's Park away against Newcastle. And now we finish off the match week 6 of the Premier League at the Hill Dickinson Stadium on Monday night as Everton, the Toffees, are hosting the Hammers West Ham here in this one. A very interesting game. Obviously, the past few games when Everton were at home to West Ham, they've all been boring 1-0 wins. However, something's different about this one, I feel. Everton are playing fantastic football under David Moyes, which, by the way, this is the David Moyes derby, if you haven't already clocked on. West Ham at the moment aren't playing good football, but they still can't score goals as well. And I do believe, new stadium for Everton, that buzz and hype still going to be around too. So, in my opinion, actually, lads, we're going to see a very good game of football here. However, I'm going to say Everton, after their defeat midweek against Wolves in the Carabao Cup, I'm going to say they're going to really need a big response here in this one. And you know what, lads, I do believe you're going to see that here in this one. I do believe this one's going to be a fantastic game of football. It's a 6-goal thriller, actually. However, Everton will be by far the better side here. I'm going to say Everton will manage to defeat West Ham 4-2 on home turf. Very high scoring, yes, but I do believe Everton will really put on a showcase of fantastic pure football here, and David Moyes definitely will show West Ham fans why it was wrong to sack him for someone like Graham Potter, of course. So I'm going to say here at half time it's going to be 2-1 to the home side. I'm actually going to say within the first 5 minutes the Hammers will take the early lead thanks to Lucas Paquetá. However, after that then I'm going to say Everton will dominate the first half and goes through Iliman and Jai and Kieran Dewsbury Hall will give the Toffees the 2-1 lead then going into half time. In the second half then I'm going to say James Tarkowski on the arm will score a bullet header to make it 3-1, and with about 10 minutes to go then I'm going to say the sub Carlos Alcaraz make it 4-1, just making it even more embarrassing for this already embarrassing West Ham side. In injury time though, I'm going to say Nicholas Fulkrug will get a goal back, making it 4-2, but ultimately the damage will be done here. It could nearly be the end for Graham Potter's tenure at West Ham, as once again it's going to be yet another embarrassing defeat for the Hammers on the road here, this time losing 4-2 away against Everton, I'm going to say. Anyway, lads, I'm going to end today's Premier League predictions for match week 6. I hope you have enjoyed it, of course. What do you think about my predictions? Do you agree with them? Do you disagree with them? What do you think is going to happen this weekend in the Premier League? Let me know in the comments below. As always, lads, remember to like the video, subscribe if you're new, click the bell, and as well as that, share this video to as many people as possible. And so then, lads, I'll see you all in the next one here on KDFG.